So last week on the show, we were like, hey, you know what's going to happen? We're going to wrap this show up, and immediately upon completion, the next hero is going to be announced. It was the next day, Kyle. We got like a good 16 hours, I think.
Yeah, we were right, though. I mean, we did call it.
I mean, you brought it up, as well as...
That's how the internet works, Garrett. You know, you make a whole list, and if it's somewhere in there, you're right. You take credit and you run.
Yes. That being said, I believe Imperius has been called for every single time a new hero has been on the horizon, but we didn't know what it was.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Fan favorite, Imperius, which I don't understand why I feel like he's the Boba Fett of Diablo 3. Like, he looks really cool, doesn't do anything, gets nothing done, just gets his ass handed to him by Diablo, and then is essentially a doorman at the end of the game. We were doing a show called This Week in Blizz, I think leading up to the launch of Diablo 3, and I remember seeing the trailer, and the Imperius was in the trailer, and I was just like, dude, that angel looks so cool. And again, it's Boba Fett syndrome. Looks really cool, doesn't have a huge role to play.
I think that's a great way to put it. And much like Boba Fett, anytime they're like, we're going to explore his backstory, I'm like, no, don't. We've been down this road with aliens. I don't need, just more aliens. Like, increase the numbers. I don't care. Make them fight predators. I'm on board. But let's not explore where they're from, why they are, who they were before they became Imperius. Let's just let them be.
Yeah, because whatever's in my head is way cooler than what you're actually going to show me.
Yeah. That being said, there were some very strong requirements for Imperius. He had to do something from the heavens, some sort of slam, because we all remember going our way to the Pandemonium Fortress and him slamming down and taking care of business. He
needed to not walk.
Yes.
Which I'm very glad they have delivered on that.
Well, he's got a good swagger. Like, he sits proud. You would not want to be on the subway with this man because he is spread eagle upon his mount.
It's thick armor, Kyle.
It's dominating.
It's very thick armor. His walk cycle is fantastic. Kudos to the animators operating on the Heroes team. And we weren't sure if we were going to get a spotlight, but we got a spotlight the same time that the switch was flipped on the PTR. And I watched the spotlight before I jumped on PTR and saw him, and I was sold immediately because dude looks like a little bit of Arthas, a little bit of Kerrigan, a little bit of Mal'Ganis. He's a lot of pieces from heroes I already very much enjoy.
Yeah. When you try to describe his kit, you certainly end up in that strange middle space, which does beg the question of where you would take him, but that's a conversation for full release right now. Of course, PTR matchmaking, I did custom games on my own stream. They're not the most effective thing at learning what his power is, but it is worth saying he's a mana hero. He has mana. He does struggle with it in the early game, much as many of your kind of Kerrigans will. He does appear to have some solo lane powers. He is a regeneration-based bruiser. And you can put his health right in between Dahak and Asmodan. It's up there. And we're talking in the top 15 heroes.
Yeah, it's solid. As far as auto attack, he lands between Zeratul and Cassia.
So pretty good. Pretty slow, though.
It is extremely slow, in line with heroes like Rag and Garrosh.
So, unaided, unchanged, you're going to feel a little Garrosh-y in there. You got the sweet spear, but it's not going to do much unless you're comboing things up for it.
I'm glad you bring up the spear because I like the range on his basic attacks. It's the same as Kerrigan and Leoric, which Leoric probably a better example because of the attack speed. But I dig it. I like that he doesn't have to get right in your face to land a hit.
Well, and the great thing about Leoric in that case, and Kerrigan as well, is that Leoric does his entomb. Maybe there's a tank in front, but you really want that guy behind the tank, and you can reach over the top of him. So Imperius able to reach beyond the frontline tank and get to that target on the other side and interact with people from a side approach if they were to be entombed in.
Now, I want to do something a little bit different talking about his abilities here. I want to save the trait for the end because I think that's where it gets the most complicated. So let's start with his Q ability, Celestial Charge. He lunges forward towards a target direction and stabs, deals 35 damage, and if an enemy hero is hit, you channel a stun for 1 second and deal 70 additional damage when it fully finishes. And it can hit more than one target.
Right. So if you skewer them, they're sort of I mean, it's brutal. It's a, T for teen game, but you can imagine skewering 3 people and then he lifts them up and they actually collapse together as though the weight of them slid down the spear.
It's kind of morbid and cool. I like it.
It does use the gravity lapse animation, which makes them a little flaily.
It looks a little wacky, but overall I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Just because the utility of it is cool and good. And I also like the design that Imperius himself is at risk while channeling that stun. So yes, you stun someone for 1 full second, but guess what, Imperius? You're also standing still for 1 full second.
Right. You are definitely making a declaration to the teams, both teams, that you are going to be located in a space. Channeled is an important word here. You are interruptible during any point during this, either the dash to get the skewer or the actual lifting, and that would end the dash or end the stun. So mosh pits, you're not gonna stop those. Another important thing about this, which had a lot of people confused, including myself, is the entire spear that appears on the ground is a clickable length. So it's not a ridiculous range on this thing. You'll be able to go over walls. You can use this to escape from terrain in tombs. I went over a wall and then jumped back over it with my cooldown 6 seconds later or so, thanks to talents. That's a good use for it and will give you some mobility and help catch you up. But also, if you target somebody beyond your range, if you think this is like a slide into them spear, it's actually targeted on the ground. If you want to hit a guy in melee range, you need to click him in melee range. Otherwise, you will spear through him and end up on the other side. It takes a minute. Like, you think skill shot, it hits the first thing it comes in contact with. If you want to skewer the tank, but also the support and the assassin in the straight line behind him, you click on the tank, and then you get all 3. And then they collapse together.
Yeah, but I think that actually makes this a significantly better ability, because it means if you do not want to hit the tank in the scenario you just brought up, you can jump the hell right over the tank and target a squishy.
Right, if you're working with some sort of special scenario, let's say, Stukov has a heal that whenever someone is stunned, it heals bonus. You may not want to hit the frontline tank that has that heal on them and skip past them. Or, hell, you don't even want to stun anybody. You're using this for escape, so you select the maximum range to move through everybody and get yourself out.
Yeah. Very cool, very unique ability. I like it a lot. It's also worth noting that you cannot use his W ability, but you can use his E ability.
Yes, and more on that in a second, but you are sort of locked out of your heroics as well, which are aimed abilities, so it would be a little convenient and a little nice if you could land the stun and then have squared up in a 1 second stun of your own making your ult. There's a fabulous level 1 quest for Impaling Light, and if you're familiar with things like Alarak and hit many heroes to complete a quest, Johanna's got a really brutal one of these because it's on Punish, and hitting multiple 3 heroes, 4 heroes with Punish is kind of rough. This is actually really easy to do. You can complete this in the middle fight, skewer 2 heroes at the same time, reduce the cooldown, skewer 3 heroes all at once, get an additional cooldown. You will complete this in the middle fight, the way people clump up. Now, with time, people may Kael'thas around and be like, Imperius, watch out, no straight lines. But day 1, great level 1 quest, very completable.
Yeah, and that's not the only straight line you need to be avoiding. You also need to be avoiding Imperius's W. Solarian's Fire. It's a fiery wave that just fires out from Imperius in a straight line. It deals 100 damage. Enemies that are hit by the center of this ability take an additional 50 bonus damage and are slowed by 40% for 3 seconds.
This is your Raynor penetrating round lane clear when they're walking towards you before they collapse into their 3-1-3 sort of formation. But it is expensive. 60 mana on this guy. You will lose to those Sonyas if you are using this for that lane clear purpose. This is a pursuit spell, ultimately. You use it for a snag to get them slowed, to line up for your Celestial Charge, maybe to stay with them during your Molten Armor.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was the combo that was shown in the Spotlight video, and I think one that we're going to see in play as well. is leading with the Solarian's Flare, slowing them down so you can line up a perfect spear.
Like we do with Skeleton Kings, hit your slows, then aim your important stunny skill shots, like the Drain Hope for Skeleton King.
Yeah.
This is a good way to do it.
His E is called Molten Armor. This is the ability that you can activate while you're stunning someone with Celestial Charge. And it looks a whole lot like Arthas's AoE, but it does not work the same way. It only lasts for 3 seconds. It kind of shrouds Imperius in fire. And it also reads striking a nearby enemy for 19 damage every 0.25, every quarter of a second. And Imperius heals for 100% of the damage dealt off of Molten Armor. And it heals double versus heroes. So this is your main regeneration ability.
Very Sonya-like in its way. You are going to walk out into that lane. No heroes available. You're gonna feel it. You might break even if an archer locks onto you. Not gonna swing back into things. But if there's a hero in the area and you're getting good connections, these will all focus into them prioritizing heroes and get you a pretty decent heal to sustain yourself through a team fight. It will attempt to divide itself evenly between available targets. So if you are standing in the middle of 6, the 7 minion lane minions, it'll go clockwise. Little missile, dealing cards. Everybody gets one. If you're doing this in a hero area, same thing. So same amount of missiles, no matter how many targets there are. If there's one target you're dueling with, you're going to maximize that single target damage.
Yeah, just more focus on his hero fighting abilities. Same thing you were talking about, how his W, you're going to want to clear lanes, but you're going to burn through mana and you're still going to lose the fight to Sonya. I think the same thing is happening here with Molten Armor. Again,
50 mana on this one, so pretty expensive. Seems like at 40 mana, you'll be able to be doing your stuns most of the time. Kind of do that loop you do around the objective, hide in a bush for half a second, get that 40 mana back. Okay, I can participate again. But getting to that 50 mana, and certainly your W is going to cost you a lot.
Well, let's talk about heroics. The first heroic is Angelic Armaments. You summon a ring of blazing swords, and it grants a 1,000 shield for 3 seconds. Again, 3 seconds seems to be the magical duration for Imperius here. The way that this works is that if the shield lasts the full duration, meaning your enemies don't burn it down, if they haven't burned through 1,000 hit points in 3 seconds, the ability can then be reactivated within a 5-second window, and it will launch 6 swords towards wherever you aimed this. It is now a skill shot, and each sword deals 140 damage to the first enemy hit. This does a good amount of damage, Kyle.
Yes, this is Li Ming's magic missiles. You'll be familiar with this sort of delay. It's a pretty ability. People are talking all about the wings. They're upset about wing size. I want this thing to flash a little more because it is a cool ability and it's a little tame. But I get it. There's a lot of visuals. These are swords. Here they come. But I'd love some more flames on them if we may.
As someone who wants to play Imperius a lot, I would like it if they made it more subtle so people don't damage me when I pop this.
Fair enough. These are on that Li Ming delay. Think of it feels just like your mirror ball. You have these 5 that spawn in a straight line off of you when you cast. You can't cast it during your stun, but you can cast it where you think you're going to get the stun, which is really the best way to line this up. You can also Cho'Gall this, and I mean that with Shadow Bolt Volley. I found this to be a very useful ability when sieging, because you want a team fight, you want to get that keep. Nobody really wants to go in. Hi, big old shield, let's go. All right, shield's gone. Everybody's collapsed in. Massive damage to one building. Granted, it's not a kill. Will people question the value? Surely. But it's a very effective way to use both parts of it. And I would expect, much like Cho'Gall, we're going to see this used for siege damage in the future.
Well, and the cooldown is only a full minute. This is not some crazy 100-second cooldown we're talking about here. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to use it in a siege scenario. I mean, especially if you won the team fight, what is there to use it on?
Right, you won a team fight without using your heroic. Heck, you're up anyway. You got a full minute to get over there.
Yep, win more. It's fine.
There's also a pretty sweet level 20 on this. Heavenly Host. You give the shield a 600-point shield for 3 seconds to nearby allies, and then they get a free mini missile of their own that they fire as an auto shoot, a seeker, if you will.
This is a supremely cool talent.
Yes, I think just about everybody on the internet went, oh, Lost Vikings, we got to run Lost Vikings.
Yeah. Don't get too weird on me.
Right, the range on this is pretty short. It feels like about a 4. Imagine Cassia getting an auto attack on you, right? You're in Zarya range for getting beamed. They need to be in the business a little bit. And oftentimes, if you're popping a shield for the benefit of allies, Vala's running for the hills, or you're just straight up steamroll winning, and little mini missile swords aren't going to matter in the first place.
Yep. I'm thinking dive comp. I want to do this on a dive comp. Everyone's around anyway. It takes advantage of that small range. And also, what dive comp wouldn't like some extra shielding?
Yeah.
But there's another heroic, and it's Wrath of Angiris, which is going to take me forever to pronounce correctly. But after a 3/4 of a second delay, you charge in a target direction and lift the first enemy hero you hit into the high heavens, a la
Kirby?
Johanna. Kirby. Yes. Yes, I was trying to tie it into the game we're talking about, but yes, yeah. Kirby from Super Smash Bros. Is 100% correct. But it looks a lot like Falling Sword from Johanna when she just flies up in the air and frickin' disappears. Or Alexstrasza, or you pick your flying up into the air hero of choice for this comparison. The only difference is that Imperius takes an enemy with him. This is so cool. So grabs the enemy, flies him up in the air, and then after 2 seconds just slams the target into the ground. It deals 375 damage. It stuns them for a second. Oh, by the way, you can move around again like Falling Sword while you're in the air. So in those 2 seconds, you can move the target you grabbed wherever you would like them to be, as long as you can get there within 2 seconds.
It's pretty speedy. Johanna's a bit slow. You also kind of have momentum from where you are clicking at the time of Heavenly Sword. We've all been in that sweet scenario, like, get him! And you clicked forward, but oh, wait, you're trying to change directions. You got to go backwards now, and that really doesn't work on Johanna. This thing is, it's fast, it's free, it's a Zergling. It has maximum acceleration built in. You're already free to move when this thing is cast. You might stitches someone behind a wall, as shown in the video, but I expect we'll see things like, Malfurion, roots. Cool. Drop them in the roots when you land. Worth saying that it is only the target that takes damage. Only that one target you grab. So don't grab someone and then try to slam them into the team. Nothing happens. Just the one target takes the damage. The wind-up is interruptible.
The wind-up. So that 3/4 of a second delay before you actually
exactly. When you're
forward.
Looking beauteous and your fist is kind of up, that will put you on 10-second cooldown if you're mini stunned or interrupted in any way.
So like Captain Falcon before the Falcon Punch.
Exactly.
Cool. We'll just keep the Smash Brothers analogies rolling.
But once you are punching, once you are flying forward, that is unstoppable and can move through terrain. So you can go through pits. You can grab an ETC who's doing a mosh pit, go over the wall, which really is probably much like Diablo, one of the real situations you'll be using this in a defense. Let's say you have Battlefield of Eternity boss. It's summoning down. They're all lined up behind that gate, and Vala's going, pew, pew, I'm safe, pew. Dash through the great gate, grab her, bring her to your side, and bye-bye Vala.
Yeah. It's a gnarly ability. Very bringing something cool to the game. That again is similar to things we've seen before, but works different in application.
Basically, the name of Imperius here.
Yes. All right, so let's get into the trait. I feel like it's going to take a little bit. The trait is called Valorous Brand, and the way this works is that each basic ability, so your QWE, marks enemy heroes hit for 10 seconds. So we've got stacking marks again. Kyle, we just got stacking marks added to Sylvanas, Orphea, but these work very different, especially from Sylvanas. There's a little more in common here with Orphea, but still pretty freaking different. So what happens with these marks is that basic attacks consume them, all of them. So if you have one mark up, if you have 2 or 3 marks up, it doesn't matter. It consumes all of them, and you deal 30% bonus damage per mark. Reminds you a little bit of Orphea, right? Okay.
This is clearly one of the design team's new little knobs and toys. I think they were probably planning Imperius, Orpheum, maybe around the same time. And like, hey, we have another version of this. Okay, well, we can put that on Sylvanas. This will be her thing.
Yeah. So what makes this unique to Imperius is that the brands themselves, the stacks, are unique to Imperius's 3 basic attacks. So the Q, the W, and the E are each their own unique stack. And the user interface for this, the UI for this, is actually pretty damn cool. So if you say you hit somebody with your W, Kyle, 3 stars appear on the health bar of the enemy hero you hit with that W. 2 of them will be grayed out, and the middle one will be lit up because you hit them with the W. So the Q corresponds to the leftmost star, the W corresponds to the middle star, and the E ability corresponds to the rightmost star. And they'll light up or not be lit up depending on what you hit them with. And each of those stacks has their own individual 10-second window. So one can fall off, but the other couldn't, and it's just very unique.
There is some immediate optimization when you start thinking about these stars, and that's just in using them. E, Molten Armor, does mini missiles. Bunch of them. Shooting targets. If you're in a 1v1 scenario, you are going to reapply repeatedly your E while you do your auto attack. This is a great way to get some serious damage out. The one important thing that can be optimized day one for you players out there of Imperius is E is activatable, Molten Armor is activatable during Celestial Charge Stun. That's a bit of a trap. Don't fall for it, because you are now applying marks that you're not going to use with auto attacks. If E hits more than once on one hero and you didn't get an auto attack in that in-between, you are missing out on some bonus damage. Also, just like our big, slow characters, we have spell resets. It's a little bit of a technical thing, but get an auto attack, cast a spell, resets your auto attack animation, get an auto attack. So there's some really cool ways to weave these in and have some real optimized play.
And that's the thing you need to keep in the back of your mind when you're playing Imperius, is that while his trait is built around stacking, this trait does not stack in a traditional sense. Because if you use Q or E multiple times on the same target, if you're not consuming each stack, you're not getting anything from it. You're just resetting the stack.
So, of course, burst damage is surprising, and healers can't catch it all the time, and you'll kill someone before they can react and hit some armor ability. Burst damage is great. Having 3 stacks is going to be great. But the cardinal rule here seems to be just don't reapply a stack you haven't used. If he's got the W mark, don't give him another W till you get that off him.
It's unlikely you're going to find yourself in a scenario where that's going to happen because of cooldowns and whatnot, but it could happen.
It's a good cardinal rule to have, and you'll find a lot of optimization. And the reason I kind of harp on this is because the mana cost is so high. You will be out of mana if you go spammy. This is a little bit of a Urel situation.
I like his trait. I think it's unique. It's just that you need to be aware of everything we just talked about to really get the most out of this trait. It's very easy to leave damage wasted.
So here's the big question. Why would you Imperius, though? Is it a level 1 giant killer? 3%. That's pretty cool. 3% giant killer, level 1. Maybe they picked a Urel or a Blaze. Maybe they banned Malthael. Maybe you're not that good at Leoric, but you love Imperius. Are those 2 heroes better at this job in the first place at level 1? Why is that there?
I enjoy percent base damage out the gate.
At level 13, I found that with my Cleavy build, I could do a Merc Camp like the Khazra, the Goatman spears decently by myself. But it was mana expensive and health expensive. He's not a Sonya. You know, you're not going to solo lane, free up your lane, and then go take a Merc Camp. So why'd you take Imperius instead of Artanis or Sonya? You want to engage. You want to do a dive team. Why didn't you Uberak?
Well, that's a hard question to fight against at this exact moment in time.
Sure, and in case you're not kind of catching on here, this is a really good bruiser to back up someone like Uberak. If you go in and you have Imperius right behind him, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, and that's where I'm landing on him, at least at launch. Where I am placing him in my mind in a comp is, I think I might want Imperius in a comp when I would be considering a Thrall.
Yeah.
Because he's a solid body, can hold a target still, brings good damage, self-regeneration. While I've been standing here comparing Imperius out the gate to Arthas and Kerrigan, I think it's a bruiser.
It's a regen-based bruiser, though, and he is going to suffer to any sort of healing reduction, whether this is new Stitch's talent, Ana, of course, being one of the big ones. But you do make a point there. Thrall's root is less flashy.
Yes.
People run Zul, Kel'Thuzad, and there is something about this that could make landing Frost Novas very easy, because they are actually on display in the air and then collapse together.
Yes. I also think because of the nature of his Q ability, he becomes a bit of a map pick. So on something like Volskaya or Tomb of the Spider Queen, we're going to be fighting in chokes quite often and likely to get additional value out of the pierce on his Q ability. It's another thing I look at, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but the shield heroic has me very excited, and I think makes him a bit of a trap target. He already has built-in regen, and then at level 10 you can get a surprise 1,000 hit point shield
on a decent cooldown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where he lands. Also worth noting, no non-hero talents. There is nothing on here that increases damage to non-heroics. So no battlefield per se.
So I don't know. I mean, it's easy, I think, right now to look at him and think he's a bit of a win more hero. But you say win more, I say dive comp, and that excites me.
Yeah.
My immediate reaction is more from a personal, I really like this kit, this is the type of hero that I like to play, and less so I think he's going to come and swing into this meta and excel.
I think a lot of bruiser players, such as yourself with Sonya's in your pockets and all that, are going to find an easy home on Imperius.